Hey everybody. Okay, I am going to be showing right now. This is a full lace wig that I just completed, and I always bleach the knots, so that's not an issue, but I do send makeup with your piece, and I'm going to show you how I put makeup on it to really conceal those knots and to give it a nice color. Now, I am using this little brush, which I also provide for you. You can use the makeup that I send. You can use your own makeup. I use, since I sell Senegence, I use the Senegence Shadow Sense in Candlelight because it's a nice like flesh tone. And the cool thing about the Shadow Sense is it stays on like even through a couple washes. So you don't have to do this often. So I'm going to show you guys how I apply it, just so if you get a piece from me, you know, you can know how to apply it as well. So I'm going to take this little brush. I'm going to take actually the eyebrow part of it. And I'm probably just about out of Candlelight here because I've used a lot of it. So I kind of just dab it in there. You see I've got some concealer, or I'm sorry, Shadow Sense, but concealer works as well. And I start, you know, you can go through your part. When I ship them out, I go through all the part, but I just kind of brush it in there, because what this does when you brush it, it kind of distributes the product really nicely and gets in those like holes. Whereas if you were just to go and like just plop it on there, it's going to be too apparent that there's makeup on there. So you want this to be as natural as possible, of course. I pick Candlelight for myself. I also have like the color Snow, which is a pure white, because some people have lighter scalps than others. So you kind of want to go. Here's a tip. Okay, everybody has a lighter scalp than what their natural skin tone is. That's just how nature makes our scalps. So look at your scalp and see what color your scalp is. Like if it has a little bit of color in it, then you're going to want to choose something with a little more color. If it's stark white and you like that stark white look, then do stark white. You know, I have all different color scalps. Sometimes I make them a little bit more beige and sometimes I make them a little bit more white. So see how I'm just brushing that in there, and I try to make sure that there is no like apparent like clumps. Like if I see one area that has more concealer, you can do this with powder. I mean, there's so many different options that you can do. But I do like the Shadow Sense because it lasts and it stays on. So let's put a little bit more on the hairline. And then I'm going to turn it over and show you guys what it looks like. You know, you don't want to be too rough with it because lace is more delicate, but just light strokes. Okay, so this is all through the parting that I've created. But like I said, when I ship out pieces, it will be in the whole head so that you can part in all different places. Okay. I think that looks good and diffused. Sorry, the lighting right here is probably not great. And I haven't even cut this lace yet. Okay, so when I flip it over, this is the color that it made the scalp. Okay, so it's a nice scalpy color. That sounds weird, huh? Because on this one, because it's such a blonde piece, I didn't want it to be a stark white color. And then also sometimes what I will do, because after it's real tricky when you're dyeing lace. You have to be real careful about going up because you don't want to stain it. So sometimes there's going to be like a little bit lighter areas around here. Sometimes I like that because it gives it a more diffused look and it gives it like a more realistic appearance, in my opinion. But if people want it to look like a little bit less wide, you can actually take some shadow or some of your Topics powder, some of your root concealer, and like a little bit lighter brown. Take it on here and just kind of go through the part like so. Okay, let me see if I have some of the shadow over here and I'll show you guys how to do that as well. Let me go grab that. Okay, here we go. So this is the next thing that I do actually before I get into the shadow part. Actually, no, let's go ahead and do the shadow part. Okay, so as I was saying, you can see, you know, some of these pieces are like a little lighter because you have to be really careful around the lace because I don't want to stain it. Sometimes people, that's not like bothersome, but some people it is. So I've got a little hair powder here. This is like root concealer. Okay, this is just like a light brown. So I do the same thing. I just kind of get some on this brush that I send. Okay, tap some of it off. You don't want too much. And then start in the areas like right here. Just go up to the root and just kind of fill it in, shadow it in. And then that will like make the part a little less wide if you prefer a less wide part. Everybody has personal preference, whether they like wide or they like skinny. You know, I study people's hairline. Like last night we were at church and I look at the back of women's heads, like it's a habit just because of what I do. And you will notice that almost everybody like does not have a straight part. They have a crooked part, as well as there's always like this little split at the back. If you've noticed, like, you know, there are women that have like perfect hairlines and, you know, of course we hate those women. No, not really. They're actually very fortunate. But everybody, a lot of people have a wider part. And I feel like sometimes creating a little bit of a wider part gives it a more natural appearance. And what are we going for here? Like, we want to be as natural as possible, right? I mean, my opinion on wig life and wig wearing is, you know, not everybody has this like perfect, thick, gorgeous, luxurious hair. And I know some women, that's what they want, and that's okay. You know, it's what your preference is. But for me, I feel like to make it look the most realistic, I want to mimic what my hair is going to do naturally. Okay, so see how that kind of just filled that in and made the part a little bit more crisp and not as diffused? Okay, so that's what that will do. And if that's what you like and you like a less diffused part, then do a less diffused part. Okay, the second thing that I do after I get the correct amount of concealer or powder or foundation or whatever you're using is I typically like to seal the knots. And this is a knot sealer. This is made by Walker. It's a top knot sealer. And you actually just spray it on and let it dry. You can brush some in and you can do 2 coats and it will actually protect the knots from like unraveling and it will lock in this color even longer. Or if you've got some Got To Be at home, this stuff does the same thing. So you can spray that all around and let it dry. And some people like to do 2 coats. So some people will let this dry and then they will go back through with another coat of concealer. Now, you can even go back in with a lighter coat of concealer. Like there's so many different options, but I wanted to let you guys know so that those of you that order any of my lace pieces, you know, don't get them and you're like, don't know what to do with them. I want you guys to know what to do with them. So I'm going to come back in the next little segment here and I'm going to show you what this looks like on. Okay. I'll be back.